quality healthcare. Today, COVID-19 has exposed these weaknesses. Healthcare systems are stretched. Essential workers are at the bottom of the social pyramid, overworked, overexposed, and underpaid. 150 years after the birth of our movement, our message is more relevant than ever. Solidarity is needed more than ever. What happens now will determine the future of our societies and the future of the EU. Today, on Labour Day, be proud of who we are, what we have accomplished, and what we want to achieve for the future.
Hello everyone and welcome to our Labour Day live stream. We are live from all parts of Europe and we want to talk to you today about what Labour Day means, about what the 1st of May means, especially for the Labour movement, the Social Democratic and Socialist movement. You will be hearing from a lot of us, everyone on our Commission team. So every Commissioner and Vice President of Socialist and Social Democratic background will be talking to you today. We will also hear from the President of the European Parliament. We will hear from the Prime Minister of Spain. We will hear from the Secretary General of the European Trade Unions. And you will hear from our youth representatives. You will hear from the leaders from most of our parties across Europe. So I hope we can have an exchange on what is really important at this day and age, especially now that we are facing a crisis that we've never faced before. So the big question today is going to be, how do the values represented by Labour Day translate into action by socialist and social democratic parties and politicians in a time where we've been challenged in a way that we've never seen in our lifetime? So let me not dwell on that too long, because many of us have a lot to say to you. I propose the one I should have mentioned, of course, and I'll mention it now, as a guy who came up with the idea, Sergei Stanishev, the president of the Party of the European Socialists, and you will be hearing from him, of course, as well. But now I would like to move immediately into the discussion and introduce to you our team in the European Commission, our commissioners and vice presidents. And let me say that, as you probably have heard, the issues upon which we campaigned in the European Parliament. So we wanted a Europe that was fair, that was sustainable, that was socially solid, and that looked after everyone so that we leave no one behind. That's how we campaigned, and we are delivering on that in the European Commission. The cornerstone of our work is the European Green Deal, which is not just a way of tackling this huge climate crisis we're facing. It is also the growth strategy that will help us to come out of this enormous crisis in a way that prepares us well for the future. I think this is extremely important today for a very clear reason. We will now have to mobilize all our political strength, and especially all the capital we can muster, to invest in our economy so that people don't become unemployed, and if they do, they get a job quickly again. We need to do this, and the money we're going to get together is probably everything that we can put on the table. And if we spend it wrong, if we put it into the old economy that needs to be reformed, then when the climate urgency becomes even more urgent and we need to reform our society and our economy, we will have no money left. And then we will put a burden on the shoulder of our children and grandchildren that is completely unsustainable. So today we have a huge responsibility to make sure that the steps we will take now to take us out of the crisis also take us into the future in a way that makes us proud and makes us confident that we hand over to our children and grandchildren a society based on the values that drove the people who have been driving the labor movement since the very beginning in Chicago all these years ago, when they asked for an 8-hour workday and were shot at by police and mowed down by those who didn't want these rights to be granted. So without further ado, let me now pass the floor to going to speak to you. And the people, we are bin people who clean our streets, the people who of our elderly. All these heroes need our protection and need a sustainable.
Well, today we mark International Workers' Day, the Labor Day. As a Commissioner for Jobs and Social Rights, I want first to pay tribute to the thousands of frontline workers across the Union, such as health professionals, emergency responders, care workers, factory selfless operatives, supermarket cashiers, cleaners, and collectors, for their selfless dedication to the protection and well-being of others during this pandemic. I thank particularly the women that make up the overwhelming majority of employees in our frontline health and social care sectors, who are all too often undervalued. The evolving crisis has forced us to collectively reflect on the true social value of the professions and occupations that keep us healthy and safe, and those that put food on our tables. It has taught us that if we want to emerge from this difficult period with a stronger economy, a more cohesive society, now is the time to make progress on social rights, particularly when it comes to fairer remuneration, better working conditions, social protection, and guaranteed equality of opportunity for all. The European Pillar of Social Rights, proclaimed in 2017, is our compass to achieve this. Social partners will also play a crucial role, and it is of utmost importance to defend the rights of social partners, and particularly trade union rights and labor laws that protect workers. This is an essential part of our democracy and of our European social model. The EU has already taken steps to protect those most at risk of detrimental social and employment conditions at this difficult time. New EU initiatives will provide support to measures that fight the COVID-19 outbreak in EU member states and provide financial support for short-time work schemes across the EU. We also recently issued guidance to ensure the free movement of workers and on how to ensure, through guidelines on health and safety, a safe return to the workplace once the spread of coronavirus has abated. Soon, the Commission will come forward with its overarching recovery plan, which will help us restart our economies and jumpstart the process of moving towards a more resilient, sustainable, and fair Europe. This crisis also highlights the enduring relevance of already announced upcoming EU initiatives in the employment and social fields. We must focus on tackling unemployment, ensuring health and safety at work, protecting the most vulnerable, and investing in people's skills for the greener and the more digital future. We have to fight poverty, and particularly child poverty, through the introduction of a child guarantee. Fighting youth unemployment is one of our priorities. We have to make sure that all workers, including those at the front line in this crisis, have a wage that allows them a decent standard of living. Therefore, together with social partners, we continue the work on an initiative on minimum wage and the strengthening of collective bargaining. In 2021, we will come forward with a further action plan to implement the principles of the European Pillar of Social Rights. You can be sure that the lessons learned during these trying times will be fully reflected in our proposals. on this symbolic International Workers' Day that reminds us the long strive for a more just society. We want to renew, we Social Democrats want to renew our commitment to achieve a fair, strong, and social Europe, a Europe that works for people.
Thank you very much, Nico. Thanks a lot. We're now going to move to Paolo Gentiloni, who's our Commissioner for the Economy. And I have to tell you, we're extremely lucky to have him now that the economy is being hit so hard. I wouldn't know of anybody more capable to lead us through this extremely difficult period. So Paolo, please tell us, what can we do to get out of this in a way that is consistent with our fundamental values as socialists and social democrats? Over to you, Paolo. We don't have Paolo, I see. We do have him? Okay.
Buongiorno, good afternoon.
Salve Paolo, tocca a te.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Franz. Yes, what an incredible Workers' Day we are living. I don't think that no one of us would have imagined in our lives to have such a Workers' Day. So first of all, thank you for organizing this opportunity, for giving a message from our political family in such an incredible day, because we have to praise workers that we are fighting for lives of our citizens. We're fighting in these weeks to maintain our societies, working our services. We have to think to people losing their jobs or searching for jobs. It is something, I think, that we will never forget. Europe is part of the answer to this extraordinary, unprecedented crisis. And I think that the key word is, and it is a word coherent with the tradition of the International Workers' Day, the key word is solidarity. But solidarity not only as a humanitarian concept, which is, by the way, very important. We need to have humanitarian solidarity to help people in difficulties. This is also part of our political tradition. But here I mean solidarity from an economic point of view, because if we want to address such an unprecedented crisis, we need to address in Europe it together. It is completely different from the crisis that we lived 10 years ago. At that time, as you can remember, the answer from Europe was, well, if a country has a problem, it can help ask for rescue, and it will receive rescue with some severe conditionalities. But this was another crisis. The crisis we are in is a crisis affecting all European countries, because the outbreak of the coronavirus is affecting Italy and Spain, Netherlands and Denmark. All European countries are affected. And the economic consequences of this lockdown, that was the inevitable reaction to save our citizens, will be these consequences regarding all countries. It will not be something affecting someone and not other countries. So we need to do something that until now we have never been able to do, to give a serious sizable and coherent common response. You know that the architecture of our union, which we were very active in promoting in the last decades, is an architecture with a common monetary policy for those participating to the euro area, and it has not a common economic policy. We have only coordination. But we are now running serious risk if we are not able of this economic solidarity. And the risk is that this crisis, affecting every country, being a common crisis, could produce very different consequences in different countries. And so strengthening the differences, the divergence between different economies, and even undermining what is one of our strategic assets, which is the single market. So solidarity means to preserve and maybe also strengthen the European project without leaving it to new differences, new tensions, and new divisions in the single market. If we are trying to do so, I think we made very good steps until now, taking unprecedented measures, putting on the table more than 500 billion euros to help to keep jobs, to help small and medium enterprises, and to help in healthcare systems activity. And now, as Nicolas said, we are working for this recovery fund that will be the main tool to give this common response. A recovery fund that should have a size, a timing, a quality capable to face the challenges that we have. Because, you know, in conclusion, we need to strengthen our European project because we don't have any other global player capable to do what the European Union can do if it will come out from this crisis even stronger. I mean, the capacity of a welfare state and public services that was so important during this crisis. I mean, the rule of law and the promotion of rights and liberty. I mean multilateralism, international cooperation and dialogue, which is strongly needed in the world that we will see after the pandemic. We don't want to assist as passive spectators to a new Cold War between our friends and allied Americans and China. So, several reasons to say that the world after the pandemic will have a stronger need for Europe, but not Europe in continuity with the difficulties we had in the last year, but Europe capable to show solidarity in economic times as the basis to have a more resilient society, a more sustainable from the environmental point of view society, and a society capable to promote liberty and multilateralism around the world. Many reasons to have our family active, and thank you again for this opportunity in this extraordinary Workers' Day. Thank you. Franz.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Paolo, for these very, very powerful words. Sadly, we couldn't see you, but we listened very carefully to you. I hope somebody will release you from the dungeon you seem to be in, or at least switch the light on somewhere. And looking forward to having you back at the table when we... there you are. Good. Good.
I want
we still get a glance. Now, Thanks, Paolo. Now let me. Paolo was talking about the need for solidarity, and indeed, as he said, everybody is affected by the coronavirus, but not everybody's affected in the same way, and not everybody is equally resilient, and not everybody has the same economic structure. So, for many years, Europe has had an answer to inequalities, which is structural policy, which is regional policy. And we are very lucky to have a commissioner responsible for this policy in Elisa Ferreira, and she will tell you exactly what we need to do now to make sure that these policies strengthen those regions most affected, that these policies are a real expression of solidarity between regions and between nations in Europe, and how this will help us overcome this crisis. Elisa, over to you.
Thank you very much, friends, and happy Workers' Day for all of you. And in fact, as Paolo just said, celebrating the Workers' Day this year is even more important when so many lives have been lost and so many employment livelihoods are at risk. We have to be more united than ever. United to fight against COVID, of course, but to fight also for people's lives, to fight for their jobs. Cohesion is at the heart of the European project. You just mentioned it, friends. Caring about each other is what makes us a union instead of just a sum of countries or a pure economic market. Cohesion supports convergence in the European Union. It is a symbol of its solidarity. It brings, of course, everybody has seen them, roads, hospitals, water treatment plants, water supply to citizens. It supports companies and jobs wherever citizens live. And of course, it was, for all these reasons, one of the first policies to react to the health and economic emergency. Available funding can today be redirected to support health expenditure, job maintenance, small and medium enterprises, but this was an immediate reaction. Now we have got to concentrate on the recovery, and the recovery cannot increase imbalances and disparities between and within member states. The control of the pandemic has frozen the economy and killed businesses and jobs. But as you just said, in general, yes, there is this impact, but the impact is more dramatically felt in certain regions than in others. See the regions that depend on tourism, the regions that depend on transports, the regions that depend on the capacity to move people and to move goods. And on top of that, some member states are massively financing their recovery, but others cannot afford it. But without convergence, the recovery cannot succeed. Without convergence, the functioning of our internal market and of our common currency will increase imbalances, leaving massive areas of Europe behind, putting seriously at risk the financial, economic, social, and political stability of the Union. Cohesion and internal market are the two sides of the same coin. That's why the law launched the two projects at the same time, the Single Act and the Delors package. Okay, today, cohesion is more needed than ever for recovery to work and for recovery to be sustainable. A reinforced, strong economic impulse, as robust as the dimension of the crisis itself, is urgently needed. Cohesion needs to be reinforced and be at the center of the recovery plan. The recovery is urgent, but it has to be future-oriented, digital, green, creating sustainable jobs, but above all, sustainable jobs for all, never leaving anyone behind. Let's go together, and let's make this compromise on this special, very special Workers' Day. The future is ours, but we have got to be intelligent enough to get it together and not leave anybody behind. Thank you very much for organizing this, and let's look forward. Let's look for a sustainable and cohesive progress for all our citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Elisa. This is a message that I hope everybody has understood and heard. indeed, we'll get through this if we leave no one behind. If we leave somebody behind, it's not going to work. And there's another subject that worries me a lot. You know, who are the heroes pulling us through now? Especially all those people working in healthcare. Most of these people who are working in healthcare are women. And at the same time, we see many reports about backlash against gender equality, about huge bad reports about gender violence, gender-based violence in the household. So I think anybody who thinks or would say that the issue of equality and the issue of protection of fundamental rights would no longer be important because we have more pressing matters to address is wrong. That is why we are so lucky to have Helena Dalli on our team to work on this. And Helena will now tell us what she will do to make sure that this crisis does not again affect women more than men in terms of their rights and their position. Helena will tell you also how we're going to assure that finally, women are going to get the same pay for the same job. It's about time. Helena, over to you.
Thank you, Frans. Can you hear me? Thank you, Sergey, for coming up with this wonderful idea. And I want to thank all the technicians who have made this possible. And happy Workers' Day to all. As we are celebrating Labor Day from our homes, let us think of all workers facing challenging times, either because they are on the front line to provide essential services or facing uncertain times. Every crisis aggravates inequalities. The COVID-19 crisis is no different. My thoughts are with those who are marginalized because of a lack of financial means, ethnic minorities, and those elderly and disabled persons who are facing neglect when they need much more support. I also reiterate my concern on the hostile environment some LGBTI youth are trapped in because they are continuously sharing the same space with unaccepting parents or housemates. Our response to the crisis must leave no one behind. We must help those who are the most affected. Solidarity is the only possible answer. Since the outbreak of the coronavirus, domestic violence towards women and children and LGBTI persons has increased. I call on all member states to strengthen their support to national helplines and raise awareness among citizens. The prevention and support services for victims and witnesses of domestic violence should be declared essential services to allow them to work at full capacity. Some member states have already stepped up their efforts, but we need to do more now and during the recovery phase. EU member states must continue to implement the Victims' Rights Directive and the Council of Europe's Convention on Preventing and Combating Violence against Women and Domestic Violence. The Commission is supporting member states in exchanging good practices in this field, such as extra shelters, code alert words, police outreach. We also need providing funding for organizations across Europe for projects tackling this scourge. I salute women who have been on the front line in hospitals, care centers, supermarkets, nurseries, wherever. Let's have them also on the front line when putting forward our recovery plans and rebooting our economies. This pandemic is a test for humanity, and we all have a role to play to save it. We can only beat COVID-19 through our humanity, empathy, solidarity, and mutual support together in all our diversity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Helena. And you will agree with me that this solidarity, as expressed by you, does not stop at the borders of the European Union. I think we have a great responsibility to also express international solidarity. And Jutta Urpilainen is Commissioner for International Partnerships. Jutta, am I correct in assuming that developing countries with few means will need our strong support to deal with this crisis and everything that follows from the crisis? In what ways can we better work with our partners to get through this crisis and build a recovery? Jutta, over to you.
Hello, and thanks for the very important question. Key lesson from the coronavirus is that we are as strong as the weakest among us. The virus knows no borders and we are all affected. Equal societies are more resilient towards crises. That is why I believe sustainable development in all three dimensions, social, ecological and economic, is the path to a more equal, better world. European Union is working hard with our partners to promote sustainable development globally. Together, EU and our member states are Team Europe. Team Europe is reallocating and reorienting significant resources, over 20 billion euros, to tackle the coronavirus worldwide. We address the lack of functioning health systems and social safety nets. Our actions focus on the most vulnerable countries and the most vulnerable people. Because no one is truly safe until we all are safe. During these difficult times, please look after yourselves and for each other. As we say in Finnish, hauskaa vappua.
Now, if we're to pull through, if we're to make a success of this, we all need to be on the same page and working together. Also, all the European institutions. And Maroš Šefčovič, our vice president, is the one who makes sure that the Commission and the Council and Parliament all work together to achieve the goals we want to achieve. And I would like to hear from Maroš now how he thinks he can contribute in doing so, in making sure that we act swiftly and coherently, because we don't have any time to lose and we have to make sure we address this crisis as Europeans together. Maroš, over to you.
Thank you very much, Franz. I very well remember all my discussions I had with young people across Europe in different universities, but also my debates with the coal miners in Poland. And we've been discussing what would be the future of the labor market, what are the challenges which are lying ahead. To young people, I said, for you, the challenge would be how dynamic the labor market would become. And the fact that top 10 professions of today didn't exist just 5 years ago. So you'll have to be in this continual preparation. You'll have to be so flexible, so dynamic as the young people who are organizing our chat today, because I'm sure this is an unbelievable technical challenge. To the coal miners, I said that we have to be there for them to make sure that nobody is left behind, that they will have a chance or to be retrained or to be focused on the new professions which will be created in the course of this twin digital and green revolutions. Therefore, we established the Just Transition Fund. Therefore, we established the coal platform. But to be honest, in all this discussion, I had no idea what is going to hit us and what we have seen this year. The COVID crisis, the fact that the economy has almost completely stopped. And now all the hands-on-deck approach is absolutely necessary, that we have to invest massively in recovery. And that, as you said, would require unbelievable coordination and cooperation, not only among our European institutions, but the Commission, I believe, has proven that we are very ambitious and we reacted immediately with the most pressing issues and put on the table the changes and proposals which are, I believe, dramatically improving the situation. But it will not be enough. And we need to have the full cooperation of the European Parliament and the Parliament, meaning the member states. I know that the first has to be passed because all the important proposals we put on the table being adopted in record time. But now we need to cooperate more closely, national governments with the regional governments, because only in that case we can pull through as Europeans. So I would echo what you and Paolo has just said. Unity and solidarity would be the key words, and I believe that together we can pull through this difficult crisis and make Europe stronger and better for the future.
Thank you very much, Maroš. We've kept the best for last. That is our High Representative, Josep Borrell, who is the man representing Europe in the world, who is the man who can make sure that internationally we all are on the same page. tough job, but he's the right man in the right place for this. So I would like to hear from Pepe how he sees his role and the Commission's role in making sure that we pull together with other parts of the world so that we come out of this crisis stronger than we went into it. Pepe, over to you.
Thank you. This is a big question, but it's clear that this is a global crisis that can only be solved globally, and nobody will pretend to solve it closing doors and forgetting about the others. You know, we went to Addis Ababa before the crisis to express our strong commitment to the African people and our will to build a new partnership. And after the crisis, I was talking with the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, one of the poorest countries in the world, and he told me, now you have now the opportunity to really prove that you Europeans, you are the best partner for Africans. This is a good occasion for you to show solidarity. Solidarity is a word that is much easier to pronounce than to practice. You have noticed that every time a politician starts talking about someone who has suffered something, he says, oh, I want to express my deep solidarity with the victims of the earthquake or with whoever has been under some kind of problem. And what does it mean to be solidarity? Solidarity can become an empty word because most of the time when we use solidarity, in fact, what we want to say is that we regret what's happening to you, but that's not enough to regret. We have to act. Solidarity cannot be an empty word. And now we have an opportunity to show it. First, among Europeans, and secondly, with the rest of the world. That's also time for the Europeans to understand how privileged we are at the end of the day. We have 40 times more doctors per head than the African people. We don't have enough ventilators, but in many African people, they have none, not a single one. We don't know what's happening even because there is no information systems. And when we say that we have to practice social distance, not keeping close to each other, staying at home and washing hands with health, well, that's good if you have a house, you have water, and you don't live in a promiscuity, all people in a camp, a refugees camp, where to talk about social distancing is really something impossible. This is a moment to show international solidarity. Today we sing La Internacional, no? La Internacional, one of the most beautiful songs that we could sing. And we talk about the people of the earth. This is a good occasion for the people of the earth to show that they are facing together a big problem, a common problem. And we have to condemn the attitudes that comes also from good friends of us, trying to explain that there is no problem or we are going to solve this problem alone. Nationalism, we've found a good moment to explain people that the best way of solving things is closing borders. And we have to defend the openness. We have to defend the pillars on which we have been building Europe and to face different scenarios. One scenario getting out of the crisis could be, as it happened after the last crisis, that the neoliberal values, they are still reinforced. What's happening after the crisis? At the beginning, everybody was talking about Green Deals and about ecological transformation. It was the end of capitalism, remember? And we forgot about it very quickly. The second threat, or the second possibility, is to weaken our democratic values. And the authoritarianism comes by the back door. And you, France, know a lot about it, and you express your worries about it, not only in some faraway country, but here in Europe, among ourselves. Democratic values can be a victim of the pandemic. The third one could be, let's go back to the old model of growth. We have been preventing from consuming. Now let's go to consume as much as we can, forgetting about the environmental and climate constraints. And this would be the way to another catastrophe. And the fourth one, the one that we should push for, we should support, is to change our model of growth and to change our social relations in order for another model based on solidarity among us and with the rest of the world. And this is maybe a good occasion for doing that, because things are being questioned. It's not the normal. It's not using business as usual. This is a breakpoint. It can be a watershed in the history of mankind. And we Europeans, we have a special responsibility. And among the Europeans, we social democrats, are still a bigger one. Because if we don't show solidarity among us, among Europeans, it's going to be very difficult to present to the rest of the world using this word. Until now, the solidarity among Europeans has been lending. You have a problem, I will help you to go to the financial markets and get a loan. But the loan has to be paid back, and it costs. Now it's not enough. And the big debate today in Europe is, how do we organize the solidarity among Europeans? Is just to help people to get loans, or we are going to show a real solidarity, sharing the burden of the problem, which affects more one countries than the others. All over the world, this is going to be a crisis of biblical dimension. Sorry to say, but we are going to face mass unemployment. The number of people around the world that will go to the poverty is going to increase. So this is the right moment to put our values in front of our action, because the history will judge us. Thank you, friends. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you, Pepe. I hope you've all followed my colleagues and seen what we're trying to do in the Commission to galvanize support for a way out of this crisis on the basis of solidarity. Many aspects have just been mentioned. Let me just wrap up by saying that, in my view, this is the challenge of our generations, not one, but many. In my view, we will now be tested in a way that we've never been tested before since the Second World War. And the answers we will be providing from now on will determine the future of our children and grandchildren. And nothing will be left unchallenged. It is not guaranteed that the European Union will survive this. It is not guaranteed that we will have a common currency coming out of this. It is not guaranteed that nationalism will be kept at bay. It is not guaranteed that solidarity will be the principle to get us out of this. It's not guaranteed that there will be solidarity between generations. So, after 150 years, social democracy and socialism really has a new huge task to answer, really has a new meaning, a new responsibility to make sure that the solutions we find leave no one behind, create solidarity between generations, do not create animosity between ethnicities, between men and women, between countries in Europe and outside. It is possible. It is possible because if you remember what our grandparents and those before them asked for, it was always said it was impossible. 8-hour working day, impossible. Fair pensions, impossible. Protection when you get ill, impossible. It all happened. And now our task is not just to make sure it isn't unraveled, it's to make sure that it is sustainable so that we tackle the climate crisis, the economic crisis we're having now, the health crisis we're having now, and make sure that our democracy remains resilient, based on the rule of law, based on fundamental values. And nobody gets to sit on their backsides when this is happening. Nobody can say, I'll leave it to others. Every single citizen has a responsibility to play here. Nobody can just leave this in somebody else's lap. So I don't just have issue with those who disagree with our values. I have also an issue with those who look away and don't feel the need to act. So let's mobilize everyone. If we do, we'll get out of this in a stronger way. And now it is my great pleasure to hand over all of this and many more issues that might come up in the further discussions to Sergei Stanishev, our president and my friend. Sergei, over to you.
Thank you very much, Franz. It was great to see all of our commissioners to present your work and your words about the risks which we are also facing. I think it's a very important message because we have historical responsibility to address this risk and not to let them happen. This is our common challenge. And it's great to see that we have a real team of commissioners who are competent, who are strong personalities, and who are working in the last weeks all the time to elaborate a recovery plan for Europe, for our economy, for our societies. And this plan has to be based on fairness, sustainability, and not just bringing us to the situation before the crisis, but draw a new perspective, which is social and which is fair. Well, happy May Day to all of our viewers. You know that the 1st of May is a celebration to all of us. It's always in our heart. This day is a symbolic day for the socialist movement all over the world since 1886. But we should always remember that all the rights, the social protection which we are enjoying in Europe today, they were not granted. They were fought, there were strikes, there were protests, there were actions from socialist, social democratic parties, but also from the trade unions. And they are our most natural ally in this fight. And to talk about how we can support workers in this crisis, Luca Visantini, the Secretary General of the European Trade Union Confederation, is joining our conversation. Welcome, Luca. Today is a day to show solidarity with workers. What do you think we should be doing to support them?
Hi, Sergei. Hi, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to join this very important opportunity, to share some messages for the May Day this year, because as many said already, this May Day is very atypical. We are all online, all in isolation, and it's very difficult to organize a real possibility, to spread a message of solidarity to everybody, to all workers all around Europe. I will say, to reply to your question, that of course the first element is solidarity. We need to show solidarity to the heroes of this emergency, that are all workers that are delivering their jobs in the healthcare sector, in care, in social security systems and support, but also all those that make sure that we can survive, because we can get food, we can get medicines, we can have our societies kept working despite of the isolation. And the second category of workers we have to show solidarity to are the victims of this crisis, are those that have already lost their jobs or that are at risk of losing their jobs. Our statistics tell us that at the moment there are more than 45 million workers that are already in unemployment, either in permanent unemployment, or in temporary unemployment. So we need to help them. We need to make sure that, as Borrell already said, solidarity is not only an empty word, but it's something very concrete we can do for them. And there are, three things that we need absolutely to do as soon as possible. The first one is that we need to save jobs. Saving jobs means, first of all, to put in place measures that can really support those that are in unemployment to make sure that they can still have a salary. They can still have some means to survive for themselves and for their families. There have been a lot of initiatives. At national level, governments have tried to help. The European Union has put in place a lot of very important measures, but it's very crucial that these measures are displayed as soon as possible, really swiftly, because the money didn't reach the people yet, didn't reach the companies for them to survive, didn't reach workers for them to make a living. So it's really important that these measures start working in practice. The second element is that since we are approaching some kind of coming back to work, some kind of exit moment, I mean, from the emergency, it's absolutely necessary that we protect the health of people and particularly the health of workers when they are going to come back to their work. Health and safety is really a crucial element to show a concrete solidarity and not only an empty word. And finally, of course, as many have already said, we need to build a sustainable opportunity for recovery. We have to make sure that we not only save jobs, but also create new jobs, that we make sure that the recovery strategies that will be deployed from now on are sustainable in terms of the respect of the environment, but also in terms of the respect of the social rights, social protection, social rights, wages of people shouldn't be cut. We cannot come back to business as usual. This recovery plan that has been announced has, first of all, to produce more quality jobs. First of all, to increase the salaries of people. First of all, to reinforce our public services, starting, of course, from healthcare. So these are really the key elements that have to be deployed, the real important strategies that have to be developed as soon as possible. If we all take the responsibility to do so, then we can really say that this May Day will not be for nothing. That will be really a great sign of solidarity for all, and we can really say Happy Workers' Day to everybody. Thank you very much again.
Thank you very much, Luca, for being with us today. I think there were two very important messages which you shared with us: the timing of the implementation of the measures, and also the fact that we should not return to business as usual. One of the institutions through which we are working is the European Parliament, and we have a very strong impact on the recent resolution of the European Parliament standing for a strong European recovery plan which is leading us towards the future. And this is the moment to hear the messages from David Sassoli, the President of the European Parliament, and the leader of our group, Iratxe Garcia.
Care compagne e compagni del Partito Socialista Europeo, non posso essere collegato con voi, ma ci tenevo a dare il mio contributo. Il 1° maggio è il giorno in cui celebriamo le conquiste e i diritti dei lavoratori ottenuti grazie a faticose lotte, come quella di un lontano 1° maggio del 1886, dove gli operai di Chicago decisero di ribellarsi alle condizioni disumane di lavoro imposte dai loro padroni. La lotta durò molti giorni, 11 lavoratori caddero sotto il fuoco della polizia o delle milizie al soldo dei proprietari dell'industria. Oggi noi in tutto il mondo ricordiamo quella giornata e quanto sia importante lottare per i propri diritti nel mondo del lavoro. Da allora molto è cambiato, anche il lavoro è cambiato, la rivoluzione tecnologica, la rivoluzione digitale, nuove forme di sfruttamento però si sono aggiunte alla precarietà e all'incertezza del futuro. E noi ci sentiamo vicini a chiunque continui a combattere per un lavoro più degno. Tutta l'Europa celebra il 1° maggio, questo ci dice quanto tutti si sentano vicini ai valori fondanti dell'Unione Europea, a quelli di chi si batte per il riscatto del lavoro e della dignità. Il modello sociale europeo ha alla sua base la tutela dei diritti sociali e dei lavoratori, la protezione sociale, la promozione del dialogo sociale. L'obiettivo di promuovere un'economia sociale di mercato che mira alla piena occupazione di qualità e al progresso sociale non può prescindere dal riconoscimento e dalla difesa dei diritti dei lavoratori. Il ruolo dell'Unione Europea è oggi in questo senso particolarmente importante. Questo sarà un primo maggio molto speciale, molto difficile. Molti lavoratori sono stati costretti a restare a casa, hanno perso il proprio lavoro, altri si sono impegnati per mantenere vivi i servizi essenziali per i nostri cittadini, altri ancora sono caduti negli ospedali e nelle strutture sanitarie per combattere la pandemia. Sono queste persone che fanno il loro dovere anche in tempi così drammatici, che ci danno la speranza di un mondo migliore. E anche quanta responsabilità cada su di noi. Non sono eroi, sono persone come noi, cittadini europei, che hanno scelto di stare dalla parte giusta, quella della solidarietà e della dignità umana. Ora che si avvicina il momento di un nuovo inizio per tutti, non dobbiamo dimenticarli. Lavoro e sicurezza per tutti devono essere al centro del nostro impegno. Lavoro per chi lo ha perso, sicurezza per chi torna a produrre e a fornire servizi. L'Europa sta facendo un grande sforzo economico e finanziario per essere vicina ai suoi cittadini, ai suoi lavoratori. Abbiamo un provvedimento che riguarda direttamente il sostegno a chi è stato costretto alla cassa integrazione. Ci sarà liquidità per le imprese, per i cittadini in difficoltà, e un grande fondo per la ricostruzione. Questa è la scommessa in questo momento dell'Unione Europea e di tutti noi. Sarà la spina dorsale per la rinascita economica e sociale dell'Europa e noi lo vogliamo ambizioso. Ecco perché abbiamo bisogno che le nostre istituzioni dialoghino con i governi nazionali e riescano ad imporre un'ambizione alla nostra ricostruzione. Non vogliamo soltanto ripartire, vogliamo ricominciare per porre le basi di un nuovo modello di sviluppo in grado di sconfiggere la povertà, le disuguaglianze, che sia più equo ed ecosostenibile. Buon primo maggio a chi lotta per darci una speranza e un futuro diverso. L'Europa non lascerà nessuno da solo. Buon lavoro a tutti, abbiamo bisogno in Europa di un movimento dei socialisti e democratici forte e all'altezza delle sfide che sono davanti a noi.
Amigas y amigos, no puede haber más demora en el despliegue del pilar social europeo. Debemos reducir los niveles de desigualdad que ya existen en nuestras sociedades, que no pueden recrudecerse como consecuencia de la pandemia. Es por eso que la Unión Europea debe apoyar a los Estados miembros en la financiación de medidas que protejan a los y las trabajadoras, las compañías de diferentes tamaños, los autónomos y los sectores estratégicos europeos. Estas medidas de protección basadas en la solidaridad y en el interés mutuo han de proveer recursos necesarios para evitar bolsas de pobreza y exclusión, pero también que garanticen el funcionamiento de nuestra economía y el mercado común. Entre las medidas que los y las socialistas proponemos en cooperación con la Confederación Europea de Sindicatos, hemos conseguido que la Comisión implementase a raíz de esta crisis el SURE, el Seguro Temporal de Emergencia de Desempleo. Pero creemos que no es suficiente, por lo que trabajaremos para que este seguro temporal se establezca en un futuro régimen de desempleo europeo permanente, basado en ayudas y no en créditos. Lo que está claro es que de esta crisis hemos de salir más unidos que nunca y tenemos que transformar sus consecuencias en oportunidades, ayudando particularmente a los trabajadores de la Unión Europea. Amigas y amigos, tenemos que hacer un esfuerzo conjunto para dar salida a esta crisis sanitaria y transformar nuestro tejido económico hacia uno que potencie la economía verde y la digitalización, pero de manera más justa y cohesionada territorialmente. Debemos hacer un esfuerzo para poder dejar a las generaciones futuras una Europa y un mundo en el que puedan vivir dignamente en toda su plenitud, a nivel social, democrático, ecológico y también con trabajos dignos y seguros. Happy Labor Day. Feliz 1 de mayo.
In the last weeks, we have been in constant touch with our prime ministers. As we all know, they're fighting daily for lives of people, to provide security and to fight for their lives and to support the healthcare systems, but also to help people with their jobs and incomes. At the eve of the May Day, we addressed a question to one of the key prime ministers from our family, Pedro Sanchez, to tell how he currently sees, in the context of the challenges for Europe, what values should inspire the recovery plan.
Hoy es 1 de mayo y en consecuencia celebramos el Día Internacional de los Trabajadores. En esta fecha todos los miembros y simpatizantes de la familia política socialista, que sin duda alguna a lo largo de nuestros 141 años de historia hemos hecho de la lucha por los derechos de los trabajadores y trabajadoras nuestra seña de identidad, podemos sentirnos orgullosos. Es verdad que nos enfrentamos a un 1 de mayo completamente diferente a los que hemos vivido a lo largo de nuestras vidas, marcado por una tragedia que nos ha tocado muy de cerca. El COVID-19 nos ha recordado nuestra fragilidad, pero también la increíble fortaleza de nuestras sociedades, nuestro espíritu de resistencia, nuestra poderosa capacidad de trabajo y de cooperación. En este Día Internacional del Trabajo quiero mandar un mensaje de fortaleza a todos los compañeros y compañeras del Partido Socialista Europeo. Nuestro objetivo siempre ha sido luchar por unos derechos dignos para los trabajadores, para las trabajadoras, porque esa es la única manera de asegurar un estado del bienestar duradero y sobre todo y ante todo verdadero. Hoy más que nunca debemos defender con firmeza los fundamentos ideológicos sobre los que hemos formado esta familia europea, una Europa social que siga velando por unas condiciones laborales dignas, una Europa no solamente social sino justa, que no se olvide de los más vulnerables, ni ponga el peso de la reconstrucción en las condiciones laborales de nuestros trabajadores, trabajadoras, y junto a ello una Europa verde que entienda que la salida de esta crisis debe pasar por una transición hacia la sostenibilidad del planeta. Nuestras economías se han visto detenidas por esta crisis sanitaria y nos espera el tiempo de la reconstrucción. El Partido Socialista trabajará, no me cabe duda, para que el futuro que levantamos sea el futuro que queremos. La pandemia ha reforzado nuestros principios, nuestros valores. Necesitamos economías digitalizadas, modernas, con perspectiva de género, donde se creen puestos de trabajo sólidos y dignos para todos y para todas, y sobre todo y ante todo para nuestros jóvenes, donde se renueve la industria de nuestros países y donde nos acerquemos cada día más a esa justicia fiscal necesaria para lograr la justicia social. No puedo dejar pasar este momento sin agradecer de corazón el ímprobo esfuerzo que todos los colectivos servidores públicos están haciendo durante estas semanas de lucha contra el COVID. Pero no solamente los trabajadores públicos, sino también empleados de distintos sectores privados que están ayudándonos a sobrellevar esta situación tan dramática. Muchas gracias por vuestra encomiable labor estos días. Os debemos una respuesta conjunta y solidaria que demuestre la vigencia y el vigor del proyecto europeo. Vivimos tiempos muy duros. Sabemos que hemos dejado y han fallecido muchísimos compatriotas a los cuales vamos a reivindicar su memoria cuando llegue el momento, pero vamos a caminar también unidos hacia ese futuro. Hoy más que nunca no deben existir fronteras. Transformemos nuestras sociedades a través de ese principio que define al Partido Socialista, que es el de la solidaridad.
I would like to thank all our prime ministers for the work which they are doing for the citizens of their countries. And I think that the major message which we could hear from Pedro was the word solidarity. This is what we shall be working for. And now time comes for the messages and addresses from our party leaders. And we start with two of them, Norbert Walter Borjans, the co-chair, co-leader of the SPD in Germany, and Nicola Zingaretti from PD Italy.
My dear friends, the 1st of May, that is a very important day. It is the day when we show all over the world that we are walking side by side, normally. But in these days, nothing is normal. We are suffering from a bad virus, COVID-19, and the consequences for economy, for our social life, and for our health. And the more important it is that we are walking side by side in mind, that we are acting side by side, that we are fighting side by side for the jobs, for equal pay, for a better social security, for a good health system, and that we show responsibility with the people who suffer, with the people who care, and with the people who make sure that our system keeps on going. Those who are riding trains and buses, those who are working in the hospitals, those who are sitting at the cashier of a supermarket, and those who provide for security in our countries. And we should be sure this is a big challenge and we can win it if we are walking side by side. But if there's anybody believing that one country on its own is able to face this challenge, to solve the problem, that's the wrong way. We only have a chance if we keep working together in Europe, fighting together for civil rights, fighting for democracy, fighting for better jobs, fighting for social life, and for that what keeps us together in the society. And I think that we as social democrats and socialists in the European Union, we are the ones who show it to the people on the 1st of May, but we should do it not only on one day, but we do it all the time. So it's a very nice day so far, but it is a very tragic day for a lot of people. So we have to keep on fighting, we have to keep on working, and we have to keep on standing together.
Mai come quest'anno il 1° maggio 2020 non è solo una festa del lavoro, ma deve essere soprattutto un impegno a un'Europa che metta la persona al centro del suo agire, della sua economia, e il lavoro, lo sviluppo, la ripresa come impegno assoluto nella fase della ricostruzione e della rinascita europea. Questo è il messaggio più semplice che noi dobbiamo lanciare alle persone. Nessuno e nessuna dovrà essere lasciato solo. Questo è il messaggio che deve venire forte per cambiare questa Europa e, come abbiamo detto negli ultimi anni, per avere un'Europa più vicina alle persone, che crede e rafforza le democrazie e che non lascia sola nessuno.
Now we have with us Paul Magnet, one of the most dynamic party leaders, the leader of PS in Belgium, who became very notorious for his fight for social rights during the debate on CETA. Please, Paul.
Dear friends and comrades, it's a real pleasure for me to be able to spend some time with you tonight, despite the circumstances. Today, socialists and social democrats all around the world celebrate Labor Day. We celebrated this for the first time in 1886, 135 years ago. And since then, we've never stopped celebrating the workers, the women and men who daily give the best of their capacities to build a better world. And even if we are confined today, and we all need to stay at home to stop the propagation of the virus, we are also together in thought, in our minds, and through online meetings. Wars, crisis, nor dictatorship ever broke our brotherhood, and this virus certainly won't either. We fought many battles in 135 years and made lots of social progress, thanks to the resolute action of 6 generations of activists before us. But a lot remains to be done. There still is much too much inequality in our world, and even within our prosperous European societies. Too many people still live in very difficult conditions. Too many women are still being discriminated, as well as too many others because of their origin or their beliefs. The environmental and health crises have generated new forms of injustice and inequalities. And this is a constant reminder for us. We have achieved a lot, but there is still a lot to be done. The COVID crisis is a very powerful illustration of this. On the one hand, the health institutions and the public services we build demonstrate more than ever their vital role in our lives and societies. On the other hand, we see too many people suffering from isolation and deprivation in these very difficult times. When we are confronted with extraordinary challenges, we see more than ever what is really essential. Today, we miss our parents, friends and colleagues. We are angry against those who only spoke of austerity and weakened our public services. We suffer with those who are sick and isolated. We feel deeply grateful for all those who take care of the patients and the elderly, and for all those who every day spend hours to help the ones in need. Those emotions should lead us the way. They shed light on what makes human beings. We can't live alone. We need social contacts, and we need solidarity. I became a socialist 30 years ago because the inequalities I could observe every day in my country and in Europe made me angry, and because I shared the hope of all those who thought that a better world was possible. Today, more than ever, I feel like I made the right choice. I also became a passionate European 30 years ago, because I thought that our states, if they remained isolated, would not be able to build this better world. And today, more than ever, I want to fight for more Europe and more solidarity among Europeans. We need a stronger Europe to fight climate change and tax fraud. We need a stronger Europe to support public health and eliminate child poverty. We need a stronger Europe to help the countries and regions deeply hit by economic recession, climate change or pandemics. We need a stronger Europe to give hope to our children who believe in progress and fraternity. Our political family, with the teams of the PES, the S&D Group and our friends in the trade unions and think tanks, has been the first, and the only one so far, to build a bold and ambitious vision for another Europe. We need a social Green Deal that would transform our continent as deeply as Roosevelt transformed the US after the Great Recession. We need to discuss this with all those who share our values and hope, and build a wide social movement across Europe. We are ready for it, and we will keep on fighting until we get it. I wish you all a very happy Labor Day.
And now we have three of our important leaders. We have Robert Biedroń, our candidate for President of Poland, who is running a very difficult but very active campaign in Poland to bring back people to the European priorities and values we are standing for. And also Conor Rousseau, one of the youngest leaders in our family, who is the leader of the SPA in Belgium. And after him, Lodewijk Asscher, the leader of PVDA in the Netherlands, who managed in the European elections to lead the party from a third place in the poll to the first place and win the elections. You have the floor.
It has been always a day when we were remembering our fight for solidarity, unity, and workers' rights. It always has been a day when we were demanding democracy, human rights, and rule of law all around the world. This 1st of May is different. We are struggling all around the world for maintaining our working places. We are struggling with the greatest economic crisis since the Second World War, or even more dangerous. This 1st of May also shows us the bankruptcy of neoliberal thinking, of neoliberal economy, where income was more important than a human being. Social Democrats are always on the right side. We are on the side of workers' rights, of democracy, of human rights, of solidarity and unity. In these difficult times, let's celebrate the 1st of May, remembering that there are still many democracies where people need to struggle for basic human rights, where democracy is not for granted, not given for always. I represent a country where the party in power does everything to maintain and strengthen their power, where human rights, democracy, workers' rights are left behind. Let's never forget that our fight will never stop, and we should always be in solidarity and unity. Let's celebrate 1st of May.
Good afternoon, everyone. These exceptional times make this an exceptional Labor Day. And that's why I really appreciate being able to speak to y'all, even though I am, again, speaking to a screen. I, as all of you, am tired of this, but we have to do this. We are going to have to hold on for a while, all together in solidarity. Solidarity between generations, but also solidarity between countries. We have all seen the heartbreaking images in recent weeks from our hospitals, our nursing homes and our care institutions. What our heroes do there is superhuman. Everybody is seeing these days what a strong, solidarity-based welfare state can deliver for every woman, man and child. Everybody is seeing these days that it is in fact that working women and men who built our countries and who made our economic progress possible. Today, we celebrate all of them with even more conviction, and we will celebrate their contributions by rebuilding our economy and society, where everybody will benefit fairly. And so the time has come to bring the young people of my generation a European story of solidarity, of helping each other. The time has come to bring them the message that in Europe we don't let each other drown in a crisis like this. And the time has come, all the more inspired by Labor Day, to make this happen. And despite all of our differences, we are all in this together. The corona crisis taught us once again, we all fall and rise as one. And that is why we have to carry the burden of managing and solving this crisis together, in solidarity. And if we carry this burden together, we are helping each other, but also ourselves. As even the ECB president, Christine Lagarde, said last week, solidarity is in fact also self-interest. The time has come also to organize this solidarity and establish a new social deal in Europe. This is not only crucial for ensuring our healthy and socially protected societies, but also for the protection of the single market, in which it is in everyone's interest that all other member states overcome this crisis in a sustainable manner. The unemployment of some workers may not and cannot lead to the unemployment of many others elsewhere. How awful this pandemic may be, it is also an opportunity to create a new and more social European project. With solidarity at its core, in times that we need this the most. Only together we will make a big social leap forward. We will establish a new social deal. That is a message I want to bring to my generations and to many others on this Labor Day. The time has come. The time is now. Stay safe.
Dear friends, just wanted to wish you a very good Labor Day. I hope you're safe, you're healthy, and I hope you're able to do your work on this very important day for us. And let's remember that there's a fight to fight, because after the pandemic there might just as well be a big social crisis, and people will look at us to fight for them. I'm looking forward to do that together with you. Have a very nice day. Bye-bye.
I would like to thank Robert, Conor and Lodewijk for their contributions and messages, and especially to tell Robert that we are with you in this campaign. We know that it is uneven, it's unfair. We know that the regime of Kaczynski is using all the opportunities to create obstacles to your campaign, and we reacted a number of times. So good luck to you, Robert. Our family stands with you in solidarity. Now we move to Antti Rinne, the leader of the Social Democratic Party in Finland, and after him, Colm Eastwood, the leader of the Social Democratic and Labour Party in Northern Ireland, and Enzo Maraja, the leader of PSI in Italy. You have the floor.
Dear friends, we have experienced extremely difficult times during the first part of this year, 2020. The coronavirus has changed our ways of life. Millions of Europeans have been hit by the virus. No society has been safe. Now our strong action are still going on in our communities to suffocate the disease. At the same time, we are focusing to the massive project to rebuild our economy as soon as possible. Our goal is to guarantee better welfare and just and equal society to all its members. In this duty, we stand united. Together, our movement will work for the more safe, prosperous, fair and just future. Despite the harsh times, I wish you all a very encouraging 1st of May. Also, I want to thank the medical and healthcare professionals all over the continent. This year, the 1st of May belongs especially to you.
On this May Day, let us fully protect all of our workers, particularly those workers who have rushed to the front line to defend us from this virus. They have gone into hospitals, to care homes, to shopping centres, and they have protected us. They've taken a risk on our behalf. They have done extraordinary and difficult work. They haven't been properly protected by our governments. They haven't been fully paid in the way that they should have. So when this is over, let's not go back to business as usual. Let's make sure we fully value all of our workers, particularly those who have stood up for us during this crisis. We are being dragged out of the European Union against our will. We will be back, but we still believe fully and strongly in European and global solidarity. So let's, after this is over, bind together and protect our workers. Protect them from governments and employers who don't respect them or pay them properly. Protect them from climate change, which is a major, major challenge facing our globe. And let's do it together.
May the 1st is not only the Labor Day, it's the day of dignity and freedom. It's only with decent work that you can be a free person. The keywords of the political action of the Italian socialists, the PSI people, and of the European socialists, the PES people, are work, solidarity, inclusion, social justice, gender equality. These words are the compass for our future actions. We must keep clear in our minds the milestones achieved through our struggles in the economical and the social field. But unfortunately, it's still an unfinished work and some goals are still to be reached. Promotion of women in the labor market. One Italian woman out of 2 is not in the labor market. In the south of Italy, 1 out of 3. Protection of women workers. Italian women are overrepresented in informal work, where rights are not respected, even trampled on. We must promote and protect the rights of all workers, men and women, but women deserve a special commitment and huge gratitude. All over Europe, heavily affected by coronavirus pandemic, doctors, nurses, health staff tell daily stories of courage, resistance, sacrifice. 2/3 of them are women. Thanks to all of them, thanks to all women. Buon primo maggio.
And now I have the pleasure to give the floor to Alicia Homs-Guinel, member of the European Parliament, but also president of the Young European Socialists. She is leading the organization with which we made a great campaign for the Youth Guarantee and the Child Guarantee. And I think it's a good example that when we stand united as a family, then we can achieve real results, because Youth Guarantee is working now all over Europe, helping young people to find their first jobs, to create their future in a safe way. And also in recent days, she had a very good initiative. We had a live show with her, with many others, about the intergenerational solidarity in Europe in the times of this COVID crisis, and also moving towards a new Green Deal. Alicia, you have the floor.
In the European institutions, we are working tirelessly on the creation and design of an ambitious
efficient, and consensus-based Great Recovery Plan, which must be able to protect member states, also companies and workers. For that, the plan should follow three main values: solidarity, sustainable equality, and the future for young Europeans. Solidarity among the European countries and people. The COVID-19 crisis is probably the most severe crisis for our societies since the Second World War. For this reason, it's so important to work together, because the crisis tests our unity and the viability of the European project. We must work to understand each other. Only if we are empathetic and understand the different interests and opinions in each member state, we will be able to identify the common ground for an ambitious recovery plan. We need a deal as soon as possible, and we need to understand that this deal is not only trying to save the European economy, but also will save the whole European project. Also, sustainable equality, our core principle in the last European elections. The EU must build a sustainable and resilient economic system, fair for our citizens and green for our planet. The Great Recovery is an opportunity to reshape the system and join efforts to achieve these goals. We need a social Europe of solid rights and protection for all, where poverty is effectively fought. We must promote democracy, achieve equity in income and wages, and continue working for the people and for the planet. And all this will only be possible if we work together. Only in this way we will achieve the economic, social, and ecological change that Europe needs. And last but not least, youth as a vector for change. Unemployment, precariousness, inequalities, and poverty will increase as a result of this crisis if we don't put a brave and strong measure on the table soon. And while it's true that this crisis is affecting all of us, it doesn't affect everyone equally. So my generation was disproportionately affected by the 2008 financial crisis, and most likely will suffer the economic consequences of this COVID-19 crisis more than any. So we need a great recovery plan that includes ambitious measures that empowers a generation of highly educated and capable young Europeans.
Thank you, Alicia. I think that the emotion and the passion with which you are talking is really impressive, and it comes to all of us, to our hearts. But you also know that not only the national governments are handling this COVID crisis and trying to help people go through this, but it's also the local authorities, which is the authority closest to people. The mayors, the heads of the regions, they are the people who are trying to provide all necessary means and to support people in this crisis. This is why it's very good to hear the contribution of Christophe Guillon, the president of our group in the Committee of Regions, to say about their perspective and their fight in this crisis.
La fête du travail du 1er mai est une fête des hommes et des femmes qui n'ont jamais renoncé à défendre leurs droits, qui n'ont jamais renoncé à plus de justice sociale. Au niveau européen, nous devons continuer ce combat. En tant que maire d'une commune avec 50% de logements sociaux au nord du Mans, en France, et en tant que président du groupe socialiste au Comité européen des régions, je me joins à ce combat pour plus d'Europe, pour plus de solidarité entre les territoires, pour une meilleure politique de cohésion territoriale, pour également un Green Deal, pour une transition énergétique qui permettra demain d'assurer notre autonomie stratégique dans le monde, mais aussi d'avoir un nouveau modèle de croissance plus respectueux de la planète et plus respectueux des hommes et des femmes du continent européen. La crise de la pandémie ne doit pas être l'occasion de revenir sur les droits des travailleurs, mais au contraire d'en conquérir d'autres. Ça doit être aussi l'occasion d'avoir un meilleur budget de l'Union européenne, plus important, pour plus de solidarité, pour faire converger les politiques européennes, pour mener ensemble des politiques de recherche en particulier dans le domaine médical. L'Union européenne, ce n'est pas un acquis, c'est un combat de chaque instant, et nous souhaitons, nous, les élus locaux, réunis au sein de l'Assemblée représentative des collectivités locales d'Europe, seule institution représentative pour défendre les citoyens au plan local, eh bien nous souhaitons mener ce combat. Vive le 1er mai, vive la justice sociale et vive une Europe plus intégrée, plus protectrice des droits, des libertés et des solidarités.
It was already mentioned by Helena Dalli that women are among the people who are under the most pressure during this crisis, because many of the health workers, the essential workers, they are women, and they are on the front line fighting the crisis, protecting human lives. But also they have to take care during this period about their children, to become teachers in a way. And many women, unfortunately, are facing the problems with domestic violence when people are isolated. This is why it is vital for our family to stand up for women's rights in this period, together with Zita Gurmai, the leader of PS, and Irache Garcia, the leader of the S&D in the European Parliament. We send a special letter to the President of the European Commission on this, and I would like to give the floor to Zita.
Dear friends, dear all watching from home, today we are marking Labor Day by recognizing the efforts of the essential workers, cleaners, supermarket cashiers, delivery staff and healthcare workers, those people who are the driving force behind our economies and societies. They deserve more than our solidarity. They deserve fair remuneration and good policies. Let us remind ourselves that a majority of these workers are women. 70% of workers in the healthcare sectors alone. While these women take huge risk of the coronavirus frontline, many remain unpaid and disadvantaged in the society. Every day is a Labor Day for women. Already before the crisis, women have been systematically undervalued and treated unequally. This crisis is revealing what normally hides in plain sight: the exploitation of women's care. The impact of COVID-19, apart from the direct health implications, is devastating to women from cultural reasons as well as systematic sexism. That is why applauding is not enough. We need a deep cultural change by extending our calls of solidarity to everyone in our society. We must incorporate these unique needs of the most vulnerable groups in our actions, such as caregivers, elderly women, immigrant women, unsheltered women, domestic abuse and sex trafficking survivors, and women with disabilities. We need a social and feminist economic recovery plan that is guided by justice, human rights, equality, and a society of well-being. The status quo of liberal macroeconomic policy making that puts money before people and that relies on women's unpaid work for the profit of others should be a thing of the past. Our recovery must be inspired by real problems of real people. It is our duty to include the voices of the most marginalized and to echo their concerns.
We are almost at the end of the live stream today, and I would like to thank one more time to our commissioners who made a great presentation about their work, to our leaders, to all of our activists who are following us now, because it was, I think, a great experience, and we are not close to each other physically, unfortunately, due to the crisis, but in our hearts we are together, and I think it was a great experience and a great demonstration that we are united. We are united on our values and on our approach to this crisis, which is a challenge to our societies. It is a challenge to our humanity. It is a challenge to our economy. It is a challenge to our welfare systems. And it's up to us to work together in order to overcome it in a way which will create a better perspective for each one. I think it was vital to hear that no one will be left behind because the risks are real. We are going towards a very serious economic decline in all our countries, not one or two, but we are all under attack by this crisis. And there will be a growing unemployment. There will be social tensions. This is why we really need to work together to elaborate a strong, ambitious, timely, on a large scale European recovery plan. The 1st of May is also always a day of solidarity. And we stand in solidarity and we are very grateful to all the essential workers all over Europe. First of all, to the doctors, nurses, drivers in the ambulance, but also to the factory workers, to the people who are shopkeepers, who are working in different industries to which help our societies keeping alive. I think this is essential for all of us, but just saying thank you is not enough. Our family has always been a family of action. We need common actions to stand up for the plan to come out of this crisis together, to have a pressure from our activists. And I know that all of our activists would they would rather go to rallies today on the streets, express their solidarity, express their expectations from national governments and also from the European Union, which are very high, and they should be aware of this. But we are expressing our solidarity today via this live stream event. I hope it was inspiring and hopeful to all of us. The 1st of May, the Labor Day, is always a symbol of hope. And I can share with you one very personal experience. My daughter, Daria, is born on the 1st of May 2011. At that time, I was the leader of my party, the Bulgarian Socialist Party, and she was born early in the morning, and I went almost immediately from the hospital to the rally with 15,000 activists from the Socialist Party on the square and announced this great personal event to them. And we received their joy and solidarity. I want each one of us, many people are confused today, many people are uncertain about their future, to know that we stand in solidarity and we do whatever it takes from European socialist family to support them and to give them security for their jobs, for their incomes, for their children, for their parents, that no one will be left behind. Thank you, all of you. Stay safe, stay strong, all the best. And last thing to say is a bit technical, but I think it's also important. From 7:30 p.m. Brussels time, you will be able to watch this live stream event also in German, French, Spanish, and Italian languages. Have a great evening. All the best to you. Thank you.